This document is the lawsuit that was filed this morning, about an hour and a half ago, in King County Superior Court against the two officers responsible for her killing. The second document you will find in your packets is a letter and statement of our position regarding the proposed inquest proceeding that would be conducted by the King County Prosecutor's Office on behalf of the medical examiner. And as you can see, once you read this letter, we are refusing to participate in any inquest process because of the fundamental unfairness of the process and that it is a sham proceeding. We have spoken to the ACLU, which has provided a lengthy quote as to the reasons why the inquest proceeding is fundamentally unfair, stacked completely against the victim and their family, and stacked completely in favor of the officers and departments that are under review. So we will not participate in an inquest proceeding in this case. It would be a sham, and it would be literally endorsing a fake proceeding. So we will not do that. The third document that we have provided to you is a letter that simply introduces to you why and who we are, and who we are. And we are the attorneys for Charles Lyles. And Charles Lyles is the only parent surviving of Charleena Lyles. And he is her father and the grandfather of all of her children. A court has appointed him as her personal representative of her estate to bring any actions needed on behalf of the estate and her minor children. Documented in this letter are the number of times over the years that Charleena, before she had children and as she had children, fled from Washington State to live with her father in California. This happened multiple times, and to his and Tina's just absolute sadness, she would not stay with them, returning to very abusive boyfriends. But she did stay with them for periods of probably totaling up to many years. If you read what's in there, the last time anybody from her family stayed with them was in the summer of 2014, when her two eldest grandchildren lived with him for 3 months. So we stand here before you today with a complaint, and we are going to take questions. I do want to just tell you why we are filing the complaint now before we do take those questions, and also, of course, to hear from Charles. We're going in this order because we're outside, it's loud, and obviously you have to move the mics around. Otherwise, I think we'd be more interactive, and I apologize for that. The complaint of Charleena Lyles is against the two officers who ended her life. This complaint details her struggles leading up to her calling the police for help. They include summaries of the extraordinary patterns of domestic violence that were employed against her by her two significant others who were both the fathers of her children. She was in a very, very difficult position. This also details the fact that she was suffering from mental illness. It also sets forth that we know that Harborview had seen her just a few weeks before the incident and had taken the ultrasound, and the baby at that time was 14 some odd weeks, some odd days. So for sure that baby was 4 months old at the time that she was killed. The complaint alleges a number of violations, and they're all against the two officers at this point. And the reason that is because, as you know, in order to sue the government, you have to give them a claim notice, because otherwise they're immune from lawsuit. You can't sue them unless you give them a claim notice. That claim notice is 60 days. and we filed that claim notice about 2 weeks ago. It won't run for a while. After it is done running, we will add in the City of Seattle. And so you might wonder, well, why are you starting this process now? And I'll tell you why. Because while we are waiting for the city to share the information they've been collecting, to share the information that they're supposed to share if they were really going to do an inquest that was fair, they would have already shared that information with us. We were promised it in August. It is not August anymore. In addition, we know that they are going around and hiring experts for this lawsuit. So we choose not to wait around and wait for them to give us information out whenever they feel like it and prepare to fight our lawsuit that they know is coming. We believe that it is important that we swiftly act. We act now. We stopped waiting for them to do what's right, and we take immediate action. And that is why the lawsuit will be filed in stages, and this is stage number 1. So I think maybe it's up to you if you would like to hear more of the legal analysis. I have, for example, not told you what the claims are. Would you like to hear the legal analysis, or would you like to hear from Mr. Lyles?
I'm totally confused, because the last time we were at your news conference, it was filing a claim against the city and putting the city on notice.
We did.
So how, and aren't these officers indemnified as employees of the city? So I'm kind of confused what this actually is. Is this a claim and now you've got another 60-day clock, or?
No, this is a lawsuit against the officers.
This is an actual.
They are not immune.
Why not?
They are not immune the way that we have pled the complaint.
I think you're the larger point that you're missing.
Well,
here.
can you hear him?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think speak up.
The larger point in all of this, and what Karen hasn't told you, is that the city has been cherry picking what they release. It was Mr. Lyles that provided you the toxicology report, which showed that Charleena had no drugs in her system. We know, and we strongly suspect, that this case is an onion, and the deeper we dig, the more disturbing facts are going to come to light regarding officers McNew and Anderson. And what Karen didn't tell you is that we are the proponents of transparency, and what is being served upon these officers with the summons and complaint is a videotaped deposition notice, so that these officers can be called before a court of law to account for all of the questions that this community has that have gone unanswered. And by filing it now and by pushing it forward now, we can start that clock sooner to inhibit the city from withholding information that they promised to us and circling the wagons and preparing their defense. Make no mistake about it, Officer Anderson, Officer McNew. We will thoroughly and completely examine you to uncover what's in your hearts and in your minds and to answer the questions, which are plentiful. First off, who here remembers the last time officers responded for a Xbox complaint? If I called, I'd be told, come into the office and fill out a report. There was no exigent circumstances here. What about the knowledge that these officers had and their responsibilities to de-escalate? What about the knowledge they had about the officer safety warning, the mental health warning, and then to go into this woman's house and butcher her relentlessly with a hellfire of bullets? They talk about dignity. There was no dignity exhibited on that day, and although the community, we urge to show the level of respect and caution in treating these officers with the respect and dignity that they should have exhibited to Charleena Lyles. We will do so during this proceeding, but make no mistake, we will not sit idly by while the city prepares its defense, hones its story, and withholds evidence that is going to raise more disturbing questions once it's released.
Karen, can you explain, or either of you explain, what about the inquest process specifically is flawed?
All right. So the inquest process, as Travis just explained to you obliquely, is we get whatever they give us, and the witnesses that are presented, that's not our choice. So the court, which is the prosecutor, gets to choose the witnesses. They get to choose what documents we get. They get to choose what questions we can ask. And the questions that have been historically asked in inquests do not serve the person who's trying to figure out what happened. It's only the very end, like, did you shoot your gun? It doesn't talk about, did you violate procedures? What were those procedures? Why didn't you bring your taser? Those are questions that would not be asked at an inquest. It's very narrow questions, and it's very unfair, which is why the ACLU and many other organizations are very, very unhappy with the inquest process. I met at a luncheon with King County Executive Constantine, who has the authority to change the inquest process. He told me he understands it's faulty. He knows that it doesn't work, but he hasn't taken any steps to fix it. And he hasn't indicated when, if ever, he's going to fix it. So if even the King County Executive admits that this is a faulty proceeding, why would we proceed with it? We would much rather be on a playing level field in a court of law, and that's why we're filing this lawsuit. Mr. Lyles, on behalf of the estate and children, wants to know what happened. He doesn't want to hear a bunch of doublespeak. That's what we're doing here. We want to know what happened, and the only way we can ever find that out is by doing what we're doing, is filing a civil lawsuit.
So what's the information that SPD has not released that you've asked for?
They haven't released anything that they are supposed to release. Everything that's going on right now, they have been doing internal investigations into this shooting, and they're supposed to release that material to us.
What specifically? What
Well,
material?
I sure would like to know what that is. But it's all of the investigations, all of the statements, all of the diagrams, things that we haven't.
We don't have any ballistics information. We don't know about shots fired, how they were shot, angles of bullets. We don't know any of that stuff. There's going to be a huge investigation and a ton of information in any death case, any homicide, but we don't have that information yet.
The most disturbing aspect of it, if it's true, if they are retaining experts and meeting with experts, are they disclosing that information to these experts? Getting an unfair advantage when the public has a right to know, when Mr. Lyles has a right to know, to withhold that when they promised us to us. If in fact they're sharing it with experts ahead of time, that's troubling. And that's why we couldn't sit and wait. We have to press forward.
How do you know that?
We know that because we've been calling experts around the country, and they've told us they've already been contacted by the city.
Which experts?
Well, these are police excessive force type of experts. They're police misconduct experts.
Have they told you why they haven't given you any information?
Well, we were told it would come shortly, and that was in August. Then we were told, well, it's still going to be coming, and now they've just stopped telling us. They stopped giving us excuses and timelines when it's going to come. No, you know, it's all voluntary on their part. They can give it to us whenever they feel like it. We have no rights in the inquest proceedings. It's a very unfair process. We have no rights. We just wait to see what they give us.
And we are trying to advance the ball on behalf of our client, Charles Lyles, to wait on the inquest for the scant evidence that may come out. Seems like an unnecessary delay to seeking justice for Charleena in this matter. That's why Charles has hired us. Charles is the only person who's authorized to bring this lawsuit. A court of law has designated him the personal representative, and no matter that others may want to seek justice on her behalf or wish they were able to, he's the only lawful authorized person who can bring this lawsuit. He's not bringing this lawsuit on his own behalf, but bringing it solely for the benefit of the 4 minor children. He wants us to peel away the layers of this onion and get to the core. Rather than wait on the inquest, we're proceeding ahead so that we can get information from the officers involved and have them answer the questions that we have that the public has, that Charles Lyles has, about what happened in that house that night. What we know is they knew of her mental health issues. They should have planned and thought about it. Yet they came in there in the house knowing she had had a mental health issue with police 2 weeks prior, and still she ended up dead. We're going to get to the core of this onion. That's why Charles hired us. That's why this lawsuit is being filed now. The city will be added later.
Mr. Lyles, you were not here.
Would you like me to?
Yes.
Yes. So are you guys done with the attorney questions, at least for now? You can always come back, but maybe now would be a good time to move all the mics to Charles. Are you okay?
Just tripped over this
I'm gonna grab stuff off of you.
Yes, just grab it off. Thank you.
Sorry, we're gonna manhandle you a little bit, sir.
You can leave this clip to you if you can,
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm gonna put this in here with yours. This we better take it off, I think.
Just leave it. Should I put this one on too?
Do you mind if I stick this inside here? Is that okay? All right, I think it's not ready.
Somewhat.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Mr. Lyles, you weren't at the press conference, I believe it was last week, when your attorney presented the autopsy report.
Right.
And I don't know, I don't know how much she has shared with you, but I'm wondering, with what you've learned about what happened to your daughter, can you share with us your thoughts about what you learned in that report?
I thought it was real sad that they came in there within 2 or 3 minutes and shot her. I thought that was real sad because I had heard the tape and they were talking real cordial. And so I don't know, but it made me feel real bad when I found out that 7 bullets, 2 in the back, you know, and then her kids was right there. She had an 11-year-old son that was in the bedroom, and I had talked to him prior to this day right here. He said they made him get back in the room. And his mother's laying on the floor dead. And then, where I understand her 1-year-old son and her 4-year-old daughter was crawling over her body while she's laying on the floor dead. And that made me feel real sad that the kids had to go through, the kids had to see that, and then her 11-year-old son knowing his mother's laying out in the living room dead, and the police wouldn't even let him come outside, and no telling how they was talking to him also, you know. It made me feel so hurt for him that he probably didn't know what to do. His mother, you know, he ran out there when he heard the bullets. He seen her laying there dead, and they tell him, get back in the room, you know, aggressively. And so I just feel sad for my grandkids right now, you know, and hopefully I can see them tomorrow, you know.
I know the press conference was originally planned to be held in the lobby here at Seattle Police Headquarters. All of us, including yourself, we were all asked to leave.
Yeah.
Your thoughts about that?
Well, I think we're asked to leave from out here.
Well, don't worry about
I don't know. I mean, you know.
We didn't actually go inside.
Okay.
We weren't inside.
We were all, once they got wind, and,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
They asked us all to leave.
Understood.
Yeah. But I just hope something can be done with my grandkids for the rest of their life. They're gonna remember this incident. Since my grandson, he's 11 years old, the one that saw his mother. And then he had to step over his mother's body to go out the side. She probably had blood all over her, eyes probably was open. And I just feel sad, real sad for him, because for the rest of his life, what he's gonna have to go through. And if he sees the police, he's not gonna trust no police no more. But I just feel sad that what he's going through right now. And then like I said, all 4 of them not together. There 2 is at one location, the other 2 is at another location. And I just think it's so sad that they have to be separated. Not only did they lose their mother, but they lost each other, you know. So I just hope some justice is served behind everything that happened.
That's a great question. And again, I want to make one final point with you, if I could, just so this isn't lost. And this is important on behalf of our whole team.
Speak up.
I don't want to yell this. I don't want to come across that way, but no one on our team believes, there's no evidence that we have anyways, that these officers went in there intending to harm Charleena. But there are questions that have to be answered, and only these officers can answer them. There was no emergency. There was knowledge of an officer's safety and of a mental health. There's an obligation to de-escalate. You had an officer who didn't plan, who left his taser home. We, as citizens, rely upon the expertise of the officers to avoid unnecessarily dangerous situations. Because as someone pointed out the last time we had a press conference, when the press talked about this thing being egregious because of the amounts of bullets, they said, well, the cops are trained to fire in rapid succession. So why is that egregious? I think the militarization of our police force and what happens when they pull these weapons puts upon them an onus to exercise the sort of professionalism that avoids a panic. And the real question is should officers McNew and Anderson be walking around with the ability to draw another weapon if they panicked here and failed to plan and failed to do what they were supposed to do? And I think the worst part about this for Charles and our team in this community is that she didn't have to die in a hellfire of bullets in a needless, unnecessary situation. And that is what they struggle with, and that's what we're going to find out when we depose those officers.
She didn't have to die in front of her kids like that, you know, that's what I feel. Her kids were right there in the same room when they seen their mother die. And I don't think this, to me, I mean, she died right in front of her kids, and her kids got to endure that for the rest of their life, of the thought of their mother dying in front of them like that for no reason at all. And the way I understand, she had her younger baby in her hand, and one of the cops grabbed the baby and took the baby out of her hand. Because on the tape I heard it said, she was saying, "Give me my baby back." So she was saying that for a reason. And then you hear a bunch of gunshots, but she died in front of her kids right there in her own house. And that's the sad part. And I'll never forget. I mean, you know, it's just so sad that I'll never be able to talk to her no more, see her, nothing. And that's what, and me and her had a good relationship. We'd call each other at least once a week, you know. And for these past few months that she's been gone, I've been missing hearing her, talking to her. She always called me about when she had problems and everything, and I give her advice. And I miss all that. I miss that father-daughter relationship we had. And I'm real empty as far as my inside now. I'm just empty because I have daughter's gone, you know, and I'm just so feeling so down, and I just want something to be done about the situation for her kids' sake, because those kids are going to need a lot of help, especially the three that was, she's got 4 kids, but especially the 3 that was there when she died. They're going to need a lot of psychological help, especially my 11-year-old grandson. And I can imagine what he goes through every night. He probably has nightmares about that. Wakes up in the middle of the night, you know, thinking about how his mom died at the hands of the law enforcement. Somebody's supposed to come in and help you. And the whole thing was crazy because she wanted to report a burglary at her house. And so how does somebody burglarize her house, how does that turn around and she gets killed? So I just don't know what happened. I want this question need to be answered.